Best children poems, God. Let's do it, do it, do it. Let's. Whoa, whoa, wow. 1, 2, 1, 2, and through. Wobble blade went snicker snack. He left it dead, and with its head he went clumping back. And had so slender Jap of war come to my arms, my beamish boy. Oh, frabjous joy. Day Calocali, he chortled in his joy. It was brilling, and the thrilling doves did gyre and glibby in the wave on all Mimsy were the Borogos and the Mombrats or grape. I'll tell you the everything I can. I'll tell thee everything I can. There is a little to relate. I saw an aged man sitting on the gate. Who are you, aged man? I said, and how is it you live? And his answer trickled through my head. Like water through a sieve, he said. I look for butterflies. They sleep among the wheat. I make them into mutton pies and sell them in the street. I sell them into the men, he said, who sail on stormy seas. And that's the way I got my bread and a trifle, if you please. But I was thinking of a plan to dye one's whiskers green and always use so large a band that they could not be seen. So having no reply to give, and to what the old man said, I cried, come, tell me how you live, and thumped him on the head. His accents mild took up the tail. He said I would go my ways, and when I find a mountain trail, I set in it in a blaze. And thence they make a stuff they call Roland's Macassar oil. Yet twopence to halfpenny is all they give me for my toy. But I was thinking of a way to beat oneself on batter and so go on from day to day, getting a little fatter. I shook him well from side to side until his face was blue. Come, tell me how you live, I cried, and what is it you do? He said, I hunt for haddock's eyes among the heather pride and work them into the Westwood Bustons in the silent night, and these I do not sell for gold or coin of silver shine, but for a copper halfpenny, and that will put us 9. I sometimes dig for buttered rolls or set limed twigs for crabs. I sometimes search for the grassy knolls for wheels of handsome cabs, and that's the way he got a wing, by which I get my wealth, and very gladly will I drink your honest noble health. I heard him then, for I had just completed my design to keep the many bridge from breast by boiling it in wine. I thanked him much for telling me the way he got his wealth, but chiefly for his wish that he might drink my noble health. And now, if ever by chance I put my finger into glue, or madly squeeze the right hand foot into a left hand shoe, or if I drop upon my toe a very heavy weight, I weep, for it reminds me so of that old man I used to know, whose look was mild, whose speech was slow, whose hair was whiter than the snow, whose face was very like a crow, his eyes like cinders all aglow, who seemed distracted with his woe, who rocked his body to and fro and muttered mumblingly and low. And if this his were full of doubt, who snorted like a buffalo that summer evening long ago. Wow, wow, wow. Humpty Dumpty song. Sitting on a gate in winter when the fields are white, I sing this song for your delight. In spring when the woods are getting green, I'll try and tell you what I mean. In summer when the days are long, perhaps you'll understand the song. In autumn when the leaves are brown, take pen and ink and write it down. I sent a message to the fish. I told him it was what I wished. The little fishes of the sea, they sent an answer back to me. The little fishes' answer was, we cannot do it, sir, because I sent to them again to say it will be better to obey. The fishes answered with a grin, why, that's a temper you are in. I told them once, I told them twice, they would not listen to advice. I took a kettle large and new and fitted onto the deed I had to do. My heart went pop the heart. My heart went thumb. I filled the kettle at the pump. Then someone came to me and said, the little fishes are in bed. I said to him, I said it plain, then you must wake them up again. I said it very loud and clear. I went and shouted in his ear. But he was very stiff and proud. He said, you needn't shout so loud. And he was very proud and stiff. He said, I would go and wake them if I took the corkscrew from the shelf. I went to wake them by myself. And when I found the door was locked, I pulled and pushed and kicked and knocked. And when I found the door was shut, I tried to turn the handle. But, how did the little crocodile improve his shining tail and pour the waters of the Nile on every golden scale? How cheerfully he seems to grin. His neatly spreads his claws and welcome little fishes in with gently smiling jaws. Beautiful. La la la. Very, very nice. It is sixth hunting on the Snark. They sought it with timbrels, they sought it with care, they pursued it with forks and hope, they threatened its life with a railway share. They charmed it with the smiles and soap, but the barrister wary of the proving and win. But the weaver's slaves, making what's wrong, fall asleep and in dreams saw the creature quite plain that his fancy had dwelt on so long. He dreamed that he stood in the shadowy court where the Snark with a glass in its eye, dressed in gown, pants and wig, was defending a pig on the charge of deserting its slime. Stay, the witness proved without error of law that the slime was deserted when found, with the judge kept explaining the state of the law in a soft undercurrent of sound. The indictment had never been clearly expressed, and it seemed that the Snark had begun and had spoken 3 hours before anyone guessed what a big pig was supposed to have done. The jury had each formed a different view long before the indictment was read, and they all spoke at once so that none of them knew one word that the others had said. You must know, said the judge, that the Snark explained fudge. That statue is absolute right. Let me tell you, my friends, the whole question depends on an ancient manorial right. In the matter of the treason, the pig would appear to have aided but scarcely abetted, while the charge of insolvency failed. It is clear that the giant, if you grant a plea, never indebted. The fact of desertion I will not dispute, but his guilt, as I trust, is removed so far as it relates to the cause of the suit by the alibi which has been proved. My poor client's fate now depends on your voice. Here the speaker sat down in his place and directed the judge to refer to his notes and briefly to sum up the case. But the judge said he never had summed up before, so the Snark undertook it instead and summed it so well that it came to far more than the witnesses ever had said. When the verdict was called for, the jury declined, and some word was so puzzling to spell, but they ventured to hope that the Snark wouldn't mind undertaking his duty as well. So the Shark found the verdict, although it is as its own, it was spent with the toils of the day. When it said the word guilty, the jury all groaned and some of them fainted away. Then the Snark pronounced sentence, the judge being quiet, too nervous to utter a word. When it rose to its feet, there was silence like night, and a fall of the pen might be heard. Transportation for life was the sentence it gave, and then he to be fined £40. The jury all cheered, though the judge said he feared that the phrase was not legally sound, but the wild exultation was suddenly checked when the jailer informed them with tears such a sentence would not only have the slightest effect, as the pig had been dead for some years. The judge left the court looking deeply disgusted, but the Snark, though a little aghast, as a lawyer to whom the defense was entrusted, went for bellowing on the last. Thus the barrister dreamed, while the bellowing seemed to grow every moment more clear until he woke to the knell of the furious bell. Wow. Fit the third, hunting of the Snark. They roast him with muffins, they roast him with ice, they roast him with mustard and craze, they roast him with jam and judicious advice, they set him conundrums to gaze. When at length he sat up and was able to speak, his sad story he offered to tell, and the bell him cried, silence, not even a shriek, and excited nightingale as well. There was silence supreme, not a shriek, not a scream, scarcely even a howl or a groan. As the man had called Ho, told this story of the Ho in an odd William tone. My father and mother were honest, though poor, Skip all that, said the bellman, and as if I once becomes dark, there's no chance of a snark. We'd have hardly a minute to waste. I skip 40 years, said the bucket in tears, and proceed without further remark to the day when you took me abroad on your ship to help you in the hunting of the snark. A dear uncle of mine, after whom I was named, remarked, when I bade him farewell of Skip, your dear uncle, the bellman exclaimed as he angrily tingled his bell. He remarked to me then, said that mildest of men, if you snark, be a snark, that's right. Fetch it home by all means. You may serve it with grains. It's handy for striking a light. You may seek it with the timbrels, and seek it with care. You may hunt it with folks and hope. You may threaten its life with a railway share. You may charm it with smiles and soap. That's exactly the method Bellman Bold in a hasty parenthesis cried. That's exactly the way I've always been told that the capture of the snark should be tried. But oh, Beamish nephew, beware of the day. If your snark be a bochon, for then you'll softly and suddenly vanish away and never be met with again. It is this that oppresses my soul when I think of my uncle's last words, and my heart is like nothing so much as a ball, brimming over with grieving curse. It is this, we have had this before, Bellin indignantly said, and the beggar replied, let me say it once more. It is this that I dread. I engage with the snark every night after dark, and a dreamy, delirious fight. I serve it with the greens in those shadowy scenes, and I use it with the striking a light. But if ever I meet with the bottom that day, in a moment of this, I'm sure I have softly and certainly vanished away in the notion I cannot endure. Wow. 4 riddles. There was an ancient city stricken down with a strange frenzy for many a day. They praised from morn to eve the crowded town. And last night away I asked the cause. The aged man grew sad. They pointed to a building grey and tall, and hostly answers, step aside, my lad, and then you'll see it all. Yet what are such gaieties to me, whose thoughts are full of indices and sirs, but something whispered, I'll soon be done. Bands cannot always play, nor ladies smile endure with patience a distasteful one for just a little while. A change came over my vision. It was night. My clover pathway through the frantic throng, the steeds wild plunging, filled up with of fright. The chariots whirled along. Within a marble hall a river ran, a living tide, half muslin, half cloth, and here one won a broken wrath of hand, yet swallowed on her wrath, and here one offered a food to a thirsty face, was half drowned in those thunders fall. Some frozen when there were many there to take in each spoonful. There comes a happy pause, for human strength will not endure to dance without cessation, and every one must reach the point and length of absolute prostration. At such a moment, ladies learn to give to partners who would urge them overmuch. To flat injured decided negative photographers who love much, and there comes a welcome summons. Hope revives, and faded eyes grow bright and pulses quickly, incessant pop in the cocks, and busy nights dispense the tongue and chicken, flush with new life. The crowd flows back again, and all is tangled. Dark and messy motion, much like a waning field of golden grain or a tempestuous ocean, and thus they give the time that nature meant for peaceful sleep and meditative snows, to ceaseless din and mindless merriment, and best of shoes and clothes. And one we name him not, that plies the flowers, that dreads the dances, and that shuns the celeste, that they doomed to pass in solitude their hours riding across like ballads. How late it grows, hours surely Percy should have warned us with his double knock, the 2 light ones. And the morning comes at last. Oh, uncle, what's the clock? The uncle grave nods and wisely winks. It may mean much, but how is one to know? He opens his mouth, yet out of it things methinks no words of wisdom flow. Beautiful. Humpty Dumpty saw. In winter, when the fields are white, I sing this song for your delight. In spring, when the woods are green, I will try and tell you what I mean. In summer, when the days are long, perhaps you'll understand the song. In autumn, when the leaves are brown, take pen and ink and write it down. I sent a message to the fish. I told them this is what I wish. The little fishes in the sea, they sent an answer back to me. The little fish's answer was, you cannot do it, Mr. Because I sent to them again to say it will be better to obey. The fishes answered with a grin, why, what a temper you are in. I told them once, I told them twice. They would not listen to advice. I took a kettle as I knew. Fitted for the deed I had to do. My heart went hop, my heart went thump. I filled the kettle at the pump. Then someone came to me and said, the little fishes are in bed. I said to him, I said it plain, then you must make them up again. I said it very loud and clear. I went and shouted in his ear, but he was very stiff and proud. He said, you needn't shout so loud, and he was very proud and stiff. He said I would go and wake them up. I took a corkscrew from the shelf. I went to wake them up myself, and when I found the door was locked, I pulled and pushed and kicked and knocked, and when found the door shut, I tried to turn the handle, but how did the little crocodile? How did the little crocodile improve his shining tail and pour the waters of the Nile on every golden scale? How cheerfully he seems to grin, how neatly he spreads his claws and welcomes little fishes in with gently smiling jaws. Hawther's photographing. From his shoulder, Hawther took a camera of rosewood, made of sliding folding rosewood, neatly put it all together. In its case, it lay compactly folded into nearly nothing. But he opened out the hinges and pushed and pulled the joints and hinges till it looked like all squares and oblongs, like a complicated figure in the second book of Euclid. Then he perched upon a tripod, crouched beneath his dusky cover, stretching his hand, enforcing silence, said, be motionless, I beg you, mystic. Awful was the process. All the family in order sat before him for their pictures. Each in turn, as he was taken, volunteered his own suggestions, his ingenious suggestions. First, the governor, the father, he suggested the velvet curtain, looped about the massy pillar in the corner of the table of the rosewood dining table. He would hold the scroll or something, hold it firmly in his left hand. He would keep his right hand buried. Like Napoleon in his waistcoat, he would contemplate the distance with the look of pensive meaning, as if ducks would die ill tempers. Grand heroic was the notion, yet the picture felt entirely. He felt because he moved a little, moved because he couldn't help it. Next, his better half took courage. She would have a picture taken. She came dressed beyond description, dressed in jewels and in satin, far too gorgeous for an empress. Gracefully, she sat down sideways with a simple, scarcely human holding in her hand of bouquet, rather larger than a cabbage, and all the while she was sitting, still the lady chattered like a monkey in the forest. Am I sitting still? She asked him, is my face enough in profile? Shall I hold the bouquet high? Will it come in the picture? And the picture filled completely. Next, the sun, the stunning Cantab, he suggested curves of beauty, curves pervading all his figure, which the eye might follow on until they centered in the breastpin, centered in the golden breastpin. He had learnt it all from Ruskin, author of the Stones of Fantasy, Seven Lamps of Architecture, Modern Painter, and some others. And perhaps he had not fully understood his author's meaning, but whatever was the reason, all was fruitless as the picture ended in an utter failure. Next to him, the eldest daughter, which she suggested very little, only asked if she could take her. With her look of the passive beauty, her idea of passive beauty, she was a squinting of the left eye, it was a grouping of the right eye, it was a smile that went up sideways to a corner of the nostril. Hatwa, when she asked him, took no notice of the question, looked as if he hadn't heard her. But when pointedly appealed to, smiled in his peculiar manner, coughed and said it didn't matter, bit his lip and changed the subject. Nor in this was he mistaken, as the picture felt completely Swinton at the other sisters. Last, the youngest son was taking very rough and thick, in his hair was very round and red, his face was very dusty, his jacket was very fidgety, his manner and his overbearing sisters called him names he disapproved of, call him Johnny, Daddy's darling, call him Jackie, scrubby schoolboy, and so awful was the picture in comparison. The other seemed to once bewildered fancy to have partially succeeded. Finally, my Hatawa Tumble all the pride together grouped is not the right expression, as the happy chance would have been. Did at last obtain a picture with the faces all succeeded. Each came out to perfect likeness, then they joined and all abused it, unrestrainedly abused it as the worst and the ugliest picture they could possibly have dreamed of, giving one such strange expressions, and stupid both expressions, really, and one would take us and one that did not know us for the most unpleasant people. Hotworth seemed to think it not unlikely. Altogether rang the voices, angry, loud, discordant voices as of dogs. How that howled in concert as of cats that wail in chorus, but my Hoto's passion, his politeness and his patience unaccountably had vanished, and he left that happily party. Neither did he leave them slowly, but the calm deliberation, the intense deliberation on a photographic artist. But he left them in a hurry, left them in a mighty hurry, stating that he would not stand it, stating in emphatic language what he would be before he would stand it. Hurriedly he packed his boxes, hurriedly the porter trundled on a barrow all his boxes, hurriedly he took his ticket, hurriedly the train received him. They prepared, thus departed Hotya. 4 riddles. There was an anxious city stricken down with a strange fancy, and for many a day they paced from morn to eve the crowded town and danced the night away. I was asked, the aged man grew sad. They pointed to the building grey and tall, and hostily answered, step inside my land and then you'll see it all. Yet what are all such gaieties to me when thoughts are full of the indices and sirs? X3 plus 53, 11 to 3. But something whispered, I'll soon be done. Bands cannot always play, not let it smile. Endure with patience the distasteful fun for just a little while. A change came over my vision. It was night. My cloud. We clove a pathway through a frantic throng. The steeds, while plunging, filled us with affright. The chariots whirled along. Within a marble hall, a river ran, a living tide, half muslin and half cloth. And here one moaned a broken wrath, or fan she had swallowed down her wrath. And here one offered to thirsty fair her words, half drowned and half thundertone full. Some frozen wed, there were many there, a toothache in each spoonful. There comes a happy pause, for human strength will not endure to dance without cessation, and everyone must reach a point at length of absolute prostration. At such a moment, ladies learn to give to partners who would urge them overmuch, a flat and yet decided negative photographers love much. There comes a welcome summon, hope revives are fading, eye grow bright and the pulses quicken, incessant pop the cocks. The busy knife dispense the tongue and chicken, flushed with a new life, the crowd flows back again, and all is tangled talk and fancy motion, much like a waving field of the golden grain of the tremendous ocean, and thus they give the time the nature man for peaceful sleep and meditative snow, to ceaseless din and mindless merriment and best of shoes and clothes. And one we came him not, that flies the flowers, that dress the dances, and that shuns the salads, that dooms the past in solitude, the hours writing acrostic ballads. How late it grows, the hours is surely past. They should have wonders with its double knock, the twilight waves, and the morning comes at last. Oh, uncle, what's the clock? The uncle gravely nods and wisely winks. It may mean much, but how is one to know? He opens his mouth, yet out of it methinks no words of wisdom flow. Wow. Beautiful, beautiful, God. We are trying at least. Trees. I think I shall never see a poem lovely as a tree whose hungry mouth is pressed against the sweet earth's flowing breast, a tree that looks at God all day and lifts her leafy arms to pray, a tree that may in some weird nest of robins in her hair, upon whose bosom snow has lain, who ultimately lives with rain. Poems are made for fools like me, but only God can make a tree. We never know how high we are. We never know how high we are till we are called to rise, and then if we are true to plan, our statues touch the skies. The heroism we decide would be a daily thing, did not ourselves a cubist war for fears of to be a king, wink and blink and nod. Winkin, Blinkin, and Not One Eye sailed off in a wooden shoe, sailed on a river of crystal light in a sea of dew. Where are you going and what do you wish? The old moon asked the three, we have come to fish for the herring fish that live in this beautiful sea. Nets of silver and the golden have we, said Winkin, Blinkin, and Nod. The old moon laughed and sang a song as they rocked on the wooden shoe, and the wind that spread them all night long ruffled the waves of dew. The little stars were the herring fish that lived in the beautiful sea. Now cast your nets wherever you wish. Never afraid are we, so cried the stars to the fishermen three, Winkin, Blinkin, and Nod. All night long their nest they threw to the stars in the twinkling foam. Then down from the skies came the wooden shoe, bringing the fishermen home. It was all so pretty a sail, it seemed as if it could not be, and some folk thought it was a dream they had dreamed of sailing that beautiful sea. But I shall name you the fishermen three, Winkin, Blinkin, and Nod. Winkin, Blinkin are the two little eyes, and Nod is a little head, and a wooden shoe that sailed the skies is a wee one's trundle bed. So shut your eyes while mother sings of wonderful songs that be, and you shall see a beautiful thing as you rock in the misty sea. Where the old shoe rocked, the fishermen three, Winkin, Blinkin, and Nod. Taking out the trash. Someone else used to do this before, someone responsible, someone who loved me enough to protect me from my own filth piling up. But I'm over 40 now and live alone, and if I don't remember it is Thursday and rise with the gardeners and blue jays call up the sun, I'm stuck with what's left rotting for another week. I swing my legs like anchors over the side of the bed and use the wall for leverage to stand, shuffle out to the bathroom. In summer, I slide into the pair of the shorts and flip-flops, wandering room to room to collect what no longer serves me. I shimmy the large kitchen bag from the steel canister, careful not to spill what's inside or rip it somehow to cross myself out. Sometimes I double bag for insurance, trying loose ends together, clinching it tightly for the journey, still combing through the webs of dreams of spiders' handiwork glistening aboard the wheel container of the black show. I drag my refuse down the driveway past the chrysanthemums and the azaleas, the huge magnolia tree shading the living room, from Georgia heat flattening holes to of unsuspecting ants in my path to park it, and next to the mailbox for merciful aves to make off my hands. It is not lost on me that one day someone responsible, someone who loves me enough, will dispose of this worn wrinkled container from my spirit source on. I don't wait to say thank you to those doing this grueling necessary work, but I do stand in the young and the faintly lit air for a long moment to inhale deeply, and like clockwork, when he strides by, watch the jogger's strong weight back fade over the slight rise of the road. Lovable losers. In a hazy birth records of the Arkansas of Europe, my bubby's birth scrawled in Yiddish at 8 days past a minor Jewish holiday, and not a week before the Cubs' most recent World Series victory, fall 1908. 10 years since Bartman cursed his Cubs right out of their first shot of the National League pennant. Since 1908 Chapless existence, Bartman wouldn't take your calls or any major network New organ, but the Sun-Times published his every address to find fans awaiting his lunch hour and bar. To become unfamous of Chicago's north side when you deflect the ball out of the Moises Allos wearing glove is a challenge. We are assured Cubs fan Bartman held employed still in Chicagoland 20 years before penicillin's discovery and 2 before the Bronx invention, and the Cubs last won the series when the NPL, NPNGL didn't exist. My Bubby, a baby, hadn't heard in America, where she's later gave birth of Chicago plays of her brother's future suicide, more camp trauma. Then Cubs led town. Bartman holds no vendetta against Alu, despite his motherfucking haulers aimed at his stands. It was never